Hello everyone, welcome to William and the Magic Box. Today on our show, we are going to have Eron. Eron is from Missouri in the USA. So let's see what Eron has to say. Enjoy the interview.
Hello.
Hello Eron, how are you?
How are you, William? I'm doing well.
Good, I'm very well. Thanks so much for taking the time this morning for the interview. Thank you.
I appreciate the invitation.
I think we missed up the time because I thought it was 5 hours difference, but actually we are 6 hours difference.
Yeah, time zones mess me up too. I host a podcast, and sometimes I'll talk to people in like Australia and UK. So then I start asking like Google and things like that. What time is it in London?
That's what I'm amazing. Okay, so Eron, tell me where you're from.
I was originally born in southeastern Oklahoma, and I currently reside with my partner in St. Louis, Missouri.
Wow. So the move, what was the reason of the move from the one state to another?
My ex-husband was a 20-year military person. He was stationed at an Air Force base in Oklahoma. So then he retired, and then we were picking a place to move, and I didn't want to move to Ohio because it's Ohio. I love everybody in Ohio. It's not the place for Erin. And then we decided on St. Louis because we already had friends and community here. So here we are.
Amazing, very good. And tell me, so you said that you run a podcast. So tell me a little bit about your podcast.
My podcast is called The Witching Hour with Eron Mazza. And I interview and talk about various occult and witchcraft practices because I have been a practicing witch and occultist for 14 years.
Wow. So tell me a little bit about this journey.
I found witchcraft. I was actually taking seminary and Bible classes whenever I was 25. And then I came out of the closet and I was like, see you later, y'all. I like boys. And they're like, okay, bye. And then I was just trying to find a path that taught me like personal responsibility to the environment, and would really help me grow. And the very first book I picked up about witchcraft was Scott Cunningham's Wicca for the Solitary Practitioner. And here we are 14 years later.
Wow, that's amazing. And so far, your podcast is like, it comes up episodes like daily, weekly. How does it work?
It is a weekly podcast, and I'm always talking to a different author about different subjects that are important to the alternative spirituality scene or the witchcraft scene, such as like LGBTQ visibility in these communities, and just LGBTQ visibility, POC visibility, just trying to illustrate the point that this community is for everybody, and there is no wrong way to do it as long as you're not hurting anybody else. That's the thing, is a lot of us have come from very overly religious backgrounds like me, and we were told it needs to be done this way, not that way. And so I am just out here wanting to deprogram that from the collective consciousness of humanity.
I see. And besides your podcast, what do you do for a living, Eron?
I actually work full-time in retail management. I am a store manager for a store called Tuesday Morning, which sells like discount home goods. And it's my job, but it's not my career. And I like working there because it's really laid back and I get to interact with people from different backgrounds.
I see. And so far, what's the best part of living in St. Louis?
What I really like about living in St. Louis is the sense of community you really get, because there's just a certain vibe to the city. I like living in old places, and St. Louis is about 250, almost about 250 years old, so about as old as the United States itself. And there's lots of old architecture. The people are really nice once they warm up to you. Unlike me, because I'm from the South, and everyone's your best friend. Whenever you come from the South, I'll make conversation with a cardboard box. And it's a great little community. You really get to know your neighbors up here.
Amazing. I'm good. Eron, are you ready to go on a beautiful journey through your memories in life and to share your point of views?
Uh-huh.
Welcome to William and the Magic Box. So this is my best friend. Random fun questions, okay? So I'm just gonna play a song now just for us to get a bit in the mood before the first question, okay? Let's do it.
Okay.
Okay, Erin, before we start the game, through the journey, if there is a question that you don't want to talk about for some reason, you don't want to answer, always can change, okay? All very friendly.
Okay.
First question for you is, what are the top 3 things on your bucket list?
The top 3 things on my bucket list are to visit Italy, where a lot of my cousins are. I also want to visit the UK and London, where you live, because I've got friends over there too. And I also want to go to Salem, Massachusetts, the witchcraft capital of the world.
Wow. And anywhere specific in Italy or anywhere in Italy?
Mainly Genoa, because that's where my family originated from. That's where my family immigrated, like where my grandfather immigrated from whenever he came over. So I want to go over there and just see if I see a lot of people who look like me.
Next question. Let's do it. Hey, Erin, next question for you is, what do you think are the best traits for a person to have?
The very first best trait a person can have is empathy and compassion, because there is not enough of that in the world. And that's kind of why the world is the way it is today, is that we have trouble walking in the other person's shoes or seeing things from other people's point of view. That's, in my opinion, that is the first and foremost, that is what the world needs most. The second trait that I think we need more of is environmental awareness, because there's not, we ain't got another planet to go to. And so we need to be better stewards of the natural resources and things we have at our disposal here right now, because we don't want to leave, if you'll excuse me, we don't want to leave a crap show for the generation behind us. And it's getting pretty risky. And third is a sense of humor. That's also a really, really great trait to have, because you don't take life too seriously, because none of us get out of it alive anyway. So
absolutely. I think if you are if you have the way of approach life this way, it makes life easier in a way. You know what I mean? You don't take too seriously.
Because because there are just situations that come up in our lives that we stress out about that we have no control over.
Absolutely. And life goes so fast that sometimes you don't realize how fast it goes.
Exactly.
Next question. Let's do it. Erin, before the next question, so tell me, when was the moment that you start this spiritual words, journey that we started? Did something happen, or naturally we start exploring this journey?
I just naturally started exploring it because I'd read the Bible from cover to cover a few times because I had to. I was originally studying the original Greek and Hebrew of the Hebrew of the Old Testament and the Greek of the New. And just throughout the scripture, you saw prophets and seers and witches and things like that showing up. And I thought, maybe there's something to this. And there has to be a spiritual path out there that celebrates every aspect of ourselves. And so that's how I ended up on the path of the craft. And it's such a wide, diverse path. Many traditions, many paths, but the same principles, in my opinion. And so I believe in a path that celebrates who you are and where you're at.
I see. And when you started this journey, did your family kind of support you as well?
Oh no, my my mom freaked out more about finding out that I was a witch than about being queer, and she was like, "You're not gonna make it to heaven," blah 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 blah. But she eventually has calmed down, and as I talked to her about the opportunities that I'm having with the podcast and the book and stuff like that, she's stepped back a little bit. She'll get a little preachy every now and again, but then I start delving into like the historical roots of Christianity and where it comes from, and then she rewinds it real quick.
I see. Very good. Next question for you is, who is a celebrity that you admire and why?
I really admire Keanu Reeves because he's had such success and such acclaim, but he will talk to the average person who's like making his coffee at the coffee shop or at the grocery store. He's still relatable. He's accomplished so much, but he hasn't lost a sense of where he's come from. And that's humility you really don't see in the world. Yeah, you've done all this stuff, but you know what? At the end of the day, you put your shoes on. They might be more expensive shoes than mine, but you still put your shoes on one at a time.
Absolutely. Saying that, what is one of your favorite movies that he's been on?
I like The Matrix, of course, and then I also like. He was in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. To me, that is his most iconic role, even more so than the Matrix.
Absolutely. Good one. Next question. Okay, Erin, next question for you is, tell us about your best vacations and why you consider that.
My best vacation I actually took recently for my partner's birthday. We went to New Orleans and I got to introduce him to a lot of my aunts and a lot of my cousins and just the culture of the city. I admire that city the most because of how tenacious the city is and how it survived such adversity with like Hurricane Katrina and things of that nature. And also the food is great. I'm a big food person. In case you can't tell, I really like food a lot. And I also just like the southern vibe of the city. I consider that like my second birthplace.
Wow. And your partner is from Missouri as well, or not? He's from Oklahoma.
He was born and raised up here. We actually live in a house that's about 10 minutes from where he grew up with his brothers and sisters. He is the youngest of 5.
Oh wow, big family. Saying that, I can see your eyes shining when you talk about him. What's the biggest difference between both of you, and what's the biggest similarity?
The biggest difference between me and him is he's very much a go-getter. He is. I admire his tenacity, and some people would call it stubbornness, but I just call it tenacity. And whenever he sets his mind to accomplish something, he really goes after it. He's your typical Aries. And our biggest similarity is that we both appreciate like oddities and weird things. Like we also both love antiques too.
Wow, very good. Next question. Let's do it.
Because you're a better dancer.
I just moved myself a little bit. I'm Brazilian, so we tend to move a little bit. Right. Before the next question, as you mentioned about being a queer guy, tell me about growing up in Oklahoma, being a queer guy, a queer boy. How was your journey? And when you decide to come out, did something happen, or genuinely it's just you felt like, okay, I'm gonna be myself from now on and I'm gonna just come up? Or if you can share.
I came out at 25, but I always knew I was different since I was in 3rd grade. But like I mentioned earlier, I came from a very conservative religious state, and I ended up going to doing Bible college, seminary, and stuff like that. But whenever I eventually decided to come out at 25, my family freaked out a bit. My mom mainly, she actually quit. She stopped talking to me for a period of time. And it was about 3 months, and she eventually came back around again after my older brother told her to get over it. And my oldest brother has always been very supportive. And I know if I ever had an issue, my oldest brother would always be there for me. It's only been me and him, and we grew up at some points to where all we had was each other. So,
see, yeah, I think.
Go ahead.
Erin, so go ahead.
And it was just really weird because whenever you come out and decide to be your true self with people, especially in a place like that, you find out who your real friends are, and you find out who's actually there.
Absolutely. I think it's so when you have like a strong bond with your sibling, with your brother, I think it helps the journey. I think it makes more you feel more confident being yourself, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And he's older as well, so for sure you felt kind of in a safe place.
Oh yeah, and he is biologically we had same mom but two different dads, and so biologically he's my half brother, but I don't even think of him as a half brother. He's just full on, and he's been there. Like when we were growing up, we had a crazy home situation, and he always protected me from like a really bad stepdad we had.
I see. All right. Next question for you is tough question now. Mm-hmm. How do you think you'll die, or how would you like to die if you could choose?
Well, we all know I'm going to find the well of immortality, or I'm going to find some magic spell just to transfer my consciousness into somebody. I'm just kidding. How I think I'm going to pass is, I know how I want to pass. I want to pass as a very old person. And I want to go in my sleep, not screaming like the people in my car.
When you talking about dying, it's something that bothers you, or for you it's just like a natural thing?
It's just something that happens, you know. It's just, to me, it's just another step on the journey. I believe in reincarnation, and we all start again. We all start again somewhere at some point. And I think the scariest part about dying for most people is that a lot of people fear the process of crossing over. I think they're scared it's going to be painful, or they're going to miss what's in this life. But what's in this life is going to pass away one day too. Everything.
For sure. Absolutely. Ready for another one?
I am.
Let's do it. Before the next question, tell me what's the biggest difference between Missouri and Oklahoma, and what's something about the state of Missouri that stands out compared with other states in the U.S., in your opinion?
The biggest difference between Missouri and Oklahoma is they don't get as many tornadoes up here. Oklahoma is part of a series of states that's known as Tornado Alley here in the U.S. And it's a lot flatter in Oklahoma too. Not as flat as Kansas, but it's a lot flatter. It's part of the Great Plains. And Missouri has like lots of beautiful like mountain ranges, and like the Ozark Mountains, and there's caves, and it's very diverse geographically. And like I said, a lot of the towns and cities here are older. And because I think Missouri became a state back in the 1800s, the early to mid 1800s, so there's older stuff for me to explore. Wow. And yeah, that's really the difference. It's a lot more interesting, even specifically in St. Louis is completely different from the rest of the state of Missouri.
Right. Very good. Next question is, if someone come up to you and offer to tell your future, would you accept it or not, and why?
I would want to see the way that they do it, because I read playing cards. I've also been a professional playing card Lenormand reader for years. And I would take that opportunity to do it as a vetting process to see what they have to say.
Amazing. Very good. I think it's powerful when people, they kind of know what's going to happen, or how you guide yourself for the future, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm. And most people are like, I've had people come up to me and go, well, tell me what the winning lottery numbers are. And it's just like, if I knew that, do you think I would be sitting here reading cards? No, I would be sitting in my mansion or my penthouse, writing books and sipping coffee all day.
Right. So I have 3 questions left for you. Okay, let's do it.
Sure.
Right. Before the next one, people watch the interview now, would you like to listen to your podcast? What they're going to expect? What's the main thing about the podcast?
The main thing about the podcast is I interview many interesting people in the occult and witchcraft community, and we discuss topics from how our spirituality works with politics, because in our boat, the two are intertwined. And you can just expect me to try to give people stuff to think about. There's lots of critical thinking moments in the Witching Hour with Eron Mazza, because that's one of the things I always try to promote, is for people to think for themselves.
Next question is, in your opinion, what do you think people need to know about each other before they start a relationship?
You need to see, I always have heard it said, watch the way that person treats the wait staff at a restaurant. And that's how you really begin to see a person's true colors, or how they speak to their mother, or how they treat people who can do nothing for them. Watch the way how they treat those people, because that's how they're going to end up treating you eventually. And you have to ask yourself, do you want that kind of energy in your life? Do you want someone who's going to have an ego, or do you want somebody who has a sense of humility?
Wow, powerful. I totally agree with you. I think it shows a lot when how people treat each other, or treat the most vulnerable person around us.
Mm-hmm.
That
True
you can
colors.
see a lot. Yeah, you can see a lot about that. Just those gestures, for sure. 2 questions left for you. Let's do it. Eron, before the next question, the world literally went upside down the last 2 years and a half regarding the COVID crisis, yeah? Personally, for you, what's the biggest positive that brought to your personal life, and what's the most negative one, if you can share?
Well, in 2020, I caught the original wave of COVID, and I was in and out of the hospital. I almost actually passed away from that strain of COVID. And
Wow.
So a near-death experience like that will definitely taught me how to appreciate life, and it helped me look at different relationships, even because you saw who was texting you every day to see how you were doing, or who was in contact, because I was living with my roommates at the time, who were phenomenal and actually helped nurse me back to health. And they would wait in the hospital waiting room for me whenever I had to get looked after by doctors and nurses. And it really helped me evaluate what relationships I wanted and what relationships I didn't want in my life. You become a lot more decisive. So that's the positive and the negative. Almost dying is the negative part. And the positive is gaining perspective.
Oh, good. Next question is, what is your favorite guilty pleasure TV show?
My favorite guilty pleasure TV show right now is I'm working my way through all of the seasons of The Simpsons. I am obsessed with The Simpsons. I also like to watch a drag competition called Dragula, which explores alternative forms of drag. And those are my 2 guilty pleasure shows.
Wow, good one. Ready for the last question?
Uh-huh.
Last one, let's do it. You like dancing, I can see.
Oh, I do, especially after a few drinks.
But before the last question, you start your journey, as a more spiritual person. People watch the interview right now. Maybe they have the gift, or maybe they would like to start their journey as well. But for some reason, they are, as you, in your opinion, like in your case, because of religion, your family, people out there, they are in the same situation. They just wanted to step in, start their journey, but for some reason are holding them back. What would be your best piece of advice?
My best piece of advice would be, especially if they're underage, or they're just scared what people think. Mainly, if you're scared what people think, sometimes you have to be, you have to start caring what you think. You know what I mean? Is what kind of person do you want to look back and say you were? And I encourage, then just go to Barnes and Noble. You can find me on social media, and I love to talk, and I have a ton of book recommendations. But you can also look on Amazon and find good books to start out on the craft. So what I would do, my first piece of advice would be research. What do you want to learn about? Do you want to learn about a certain pantheon, like Greek pantheon or Egyptian or Norse, what have you? Find a point of interest and just dive in. It all stops. Baby steps with the craft. Baby steps.
Easy. Last question for you is, what's the biggest difference between you and your best friends?
The biggest difference between me and my best friend, he lives out in Baltimore. He's also written a few books, but the biggest difference is he's like 6'1", and I'm only 5'10". He really likes Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and I'm not a fan of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and we make fun of each other. Oh, another big difference that we always argue about every time at this point of year is pumpkin spice good? And I personally think that like it tastes like vomit in a cup. And this dude is obsessed with pumpkin spice everything. So big difference. He worships pumpkin spice, and I despise it.
Right, it's not the end yet. Let's play now the word association game, okay? I'm going to give away some words. Just tell one word that comes to your mind. Quick thinking, okay?
Okay.
So, I hope you are enjoying the interview. Before we do the word association game, don't forget to give a like, don't forget to share this video, and also don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Just click on the button right there. Thank you so much and enjoy the word association game. Money.
Not enough.
Family.
Important.
One word for life.
Live it.
Sex.
Enjoyable.
Love.
Not necessary.
Politics.
Important.
Religion.
Not important.
Fear.
Why? Wisdom.
Friendship.
Not necessary.
Desire.
Important.
Regret.
None.
Success.
Subjective.
One word for wish.
Have them.
Happiness.
Food.
One word for Oklahoma.
Home.
One word for Missouri.
Home.
USA. One word.
Negotiable.
I like that. One word for witchcraft.
Power.
And the last one now. Okay, let's see if they're right. The Witching Hour podcast. One word.
Amazing.
I like the way you said amazing. Let's pretend I'm going to meet your lovely partner for a coffee, and I'm going to ask him, tell me the most beautiful thing about Eron, and tell me something that he still needs to work on, to improve on, what he would say.
He would say the most beautiful thing about me is my ability to talk to people, and how I love to be kind to people, because I wear a button at my job that says be kind, because that's important to me. And something he would say I need to work on is keeping up with my laundry and dishes.
Do you see some work in progress?
It is a work in progress, and I'm trying to be a lot better about it, especially as we're trying to sell the house and be in the process of moving.
I see. Let's play now, Eron, and the magic box, and you can ask me a question. Okay, Eron, you can ask me a question now.
What was it like for you growing up in Brazil?
Oh, I love the question, actually. It made me go through my memories now. Right, growing up in Brazil, where I come from, is a very small place, very small town. I remember growing up, my city was like 12,000 people, more or less, was very small. And I was very lucky because I grew up in the 80s. So I grew up like, you know, playing with my friends. There was no technology. I was literally like climbing trees to get some fruits like mango, like a guava, you know what I mean, avocado. So all those fruits I remember growing up, and it was so available for free. So I had a very happy childhood, you know. It wasn't easy sometimes, of course, it wasn't easy. I had like troubles as well, like everyone has, about being gay as well. Growing up wasn't easy sometimes, but my parents, they were very they, looking back now, they literally set me free. They literally, you know what I mean, let me be myself. I remember like growing up, and I never had situations where my parents were a kind of pushing me to not follow things that maybe I didn't want to follow, like church or anything. But I loved going I remember growing up, I loved going to the church because I just felt happy over there. I just felt peace. And I remember my mom, she thought I'd be a priest because I was always involved with the church. But when I look back now, analyzing, I just loved it being there because I was singing. I was, you know what I mean, involved in some work with the community as well. And that for me was amazing, to be involved with people, helping people as well. That's what I liked when I was that age. So yeah, growing up in Brazil, I come from a very simple family. You know, I didn't have much like things, let's say, you know, like expensive things, you know, but I was a happy child. When I look back now, I'm so glad that I grew up in a generation where things were, you know what I mean, available like now, technology, everything, which is good as well. I think there's always, you know what I mean, the good and bad. But I think that moments that we grew up, you know what I mean, it's not gonna happen anymore. You know, the world we live right now is not going to happen anymore, and I'm grateful for that because it was a happy childhood overall, for sure.
Awesome. It kind of makes me think that, like you said, you grew up happy with like the simplest things, and that's like the purest form of childhood. Is you don't need the best, the baddest, the latest, or anything. You just need the simplest things to be happy, and I wish humanity was more like that.
And I remember as well. I remember that where I come from, is a very middle of Brazil, northwest, and the closest sea, like the beach, was 2 hours by plane, the closest. And the first time when I saw the sea in my life, I was 18 years old when I went to a school trip. And I remember I was so excited about it. And I remember like growing up as well, I remember some of my neighbors, they could afford to go to the beach, like, you know, during the summertime. And I remember once, I don't remember, but my mom, she told me once that when I was a child, I came up to her and I said, "Mom, I would love to go to the beach as well." And for her, it was kind of heartbroken because she knew that we couldn't go because I saw my neighbors going to the beach. And she said to me, "My son, one day you're gonna go. One day you're gonna see the world. One day you're gonna, you know what I mean, you're gonna find ways of seeing." And I was like, okay, that's fine, because children, what you don't have it, you don't miss it. So for me, it was okay. I could see them going, but I never been to the beach. I don't know how it looked like. So I was happy as well. You know what I mean? So I think that being a child as well, sometimes you are in a safe place because, you know, you just take what comes. Yeah, you just believe in your parents, in your people around you, even though sometimes you have troubles at home, like, you know, I had, and I'm sure you had as well. But even though, you know what I mean, you grow up in a place where you believe what they tell you. They believe, you know, like I believe my mom when she told you one day you're gonna see the world, you're gonna see things, and I believed her. I was like, okay, that's fine, and I carry on with my day. So I think childhood, sometimes when we are growing up, we believe in things. We are in a world where we don't have bills to pay, we don't have worries. There's things that you don't understand much, and I think that's the beautiful of growing up. You know what I mean? If you know what I mean.
I know exactly what you mean. You don't have to put much thought into things. Life is just a lot simpler.
Yeah, absolutely. Eron, did you have a good time?
I did. I really enjoyed having my brain picked. It was it's mental exercise for me, because I'm used to being one asking people questions. So it's nice to be interviewed for once.
Very good. So now you're sitting the other side. Now you have the feeling, the taste of being interviewed. But by the way, thanks so much for taking the time. I think nowadays we are so busy with our own lives, and for me, when someone take their time to share with me. I think it's a gift. Thanks so much for that. But before you go, if you can share a positive message, something that you live by.
The one thing that I would want to say is always learn to love and appreciate every aspect of yourself. If it makes you happy and you're not hurting anybody else, do it. Who gives a crap what anybody else thinks? If it makes you happy and you're not hurting yourself or other people, do it. Enjoy your guilty pleasure, because like you said, life is short.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thanks so much. Regards to your family, to your partner, and you keep in touch, okay? It was a pleasure to connect with you.
All right, we'll see you soon.
Take care. Bye-bye. So, did you like the show? Don't forget to give a like, to share it, and also don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And if you'd like to be part of the show as well, first, subscribe to our channel, and after that, just go to our website, www.williamandthemagicbox.com, and send us a request saying why you'd like to be part of the show. And I see you there. Bye-bye. See you next time.